Star Walker Studios presents Game Master's Journey, your multi-dimensional RPG podcast. Welcome to Game Master's Journey, the Primordia campaign. These episodes are recordings of actual play of my D&D campaign in my homebrew world of Primordia. You can not only enjoy the first adventures in my new world, but you can also witness the contributions the players make to Primordia. So join me on the journey. Together, we can become game masters truly worthy of the title. Hello, listener. Greetings, fellow GM and or player. Welcome to Game Master's Journey, your multi-dimensional RPG podcast. I'm your host, Lex Starwalker, and I'm transmitting to you today from the Obsidian Monolith somewhere outside time and space. So this is the second part of the first session of my new D&D campaign in Primordia. So with this part, we bring in the rest of the players and we go through character creation. Now, people pretty much had their character concepts down and even character sheets done at this point. So for the most part, we're just introducing the characters, discussing their backgrounds, what kind of spells and abilities they have to bring to the table, that sort of thing. So real quick, before I get into that, I will just very quickly introduce the players and the characters that we will have today. We have Dwayne playing Iorek, the Tiefling wild magic sorcerer with the urchin background. We have Nathan playing Samson, a human Order of the Immortal scion with the banneret background. Steve playing Raith, an Eladrin Bladesinger fighter wizard with the Outlander background. And finally, Kyle playing Sprout, a Goliath nature cleric of Primordia with, I believe, the Acolyte background. I'm not sure about his background. Chrissy is not in this part. She will be in part 3 of the first session, and she will be playing Azriel, an Aasimar Great Old One Warlock with the Outlander bounty hunter background. So this one's a little long, a little over an hour, so get right into it. So we are starting a new D&D campaign. We're playing D&D 5th edition, and we're going to be playing in a homebrew world that I've just started creating, and these guys are going to have a lot to do with helping to create that, hopefully. Tonight, we're at the very beginning. We're making characters, and we're kind of doing like backstories and stuff like that, and hopefully later we're going to get to actually playing. But I think we're starting with Kyle because everybody else has at least a character started, and Kyle does not. But Kyle, you're thinking you're going to play some kind of a cleric?
I'm going to play a nature cleric, Goliath. He's cool. Going to be a mountain lord. And so
you want to worship like a nature deity?
Yeah, absolutely. Something rock, like mountains and stuff. So
well, that's good because you picked the actual like one god that has a solid name. Which is the goddess Primordia, which is like the earth goddess.
The rock god has a solid name.
Yeah. I mean, she's not really a rock god, but I don't think my gods are gonna be that specific. But she's god of nature and agriculture and weather. So is that the kind of thing you're looking for, Kyle?
I was thinking more like mountains and mountains and mountains.
Well, mountains are part of nature, so that would be within her area of expertise.
Okay. If there's nothing more mountain focused, then I guess I will worship.
For now, there's not. I mean, my gods are very rough at this point. I basically have a list of 10, like there's a god of this, god of that. And what I'm trying to avoid is being like the Forgotten Realms and having like 50 gods. I'd like to have a small enough number that you guys can kind of know who they all are. So I'm gonna there probably won't be a god of the mountains because that's way too specific. If I start getting that specific, we'll have 50 gods.
I require a god for each mountain in the multiverse.
Lex, remind me. I had a thought actually about one of the gods because I got this is a fairly high level thought, but you had listed without a lot of details yet a god of war.
Yeah.
And it actually occurred to me that the way that you describe Primordia with there being such a distance between cities, I kind of wondered, is this a world where there really are a lot of wars? And would that then be something I know in our world, in a typical world, war is so common, but I wondered, is Primordia the type of place where war is common enough that you'd have a deity of war? You might have a deity of battle, or you might have a deity of combat, but would it be war? I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing that crossed my mind.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, because you're right. There probably in this day and age wouldn't be a lot of wars, or maybe even any. Which actually, now that I think about that, that might throw a wrench in one of my longer term adventure ideas I had. I'll just figure that out. It's yeah.
I just make problems.
Kind of what I was thinking is the god of war was going to be an Ares type god, neutral or maybe even evil, who's a god of just bloodlust and killing. And then I was going to have a god of bravery, strength, martial arts, protection. That's more the deity that a more good aligned warrior would worship, who's more the craft of war, or the, just being physically fit and having good martial skills as opposed to just bloodlust and slaughter. But yeah, that's maybe the god of war is from a previous age and maybe doesn't have a lot of worshipers these days.
Maybe he's more of a god of unrest and chaos and disorder, and war would be one of those aspects. But
I like that.
If his whole thing is more about just the negative consequences of that, maybe that's the focal point, less than the war aspect.
I like that. I added that. I literally banged this out in 10 minutes today because Nathan, you did, Steve. You made the point.
It was me.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to want to play a cleric when you don't know anything about the deities. And I was that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So, Kyle, if you have an idea for a storm god and you really want there to be a storm god, we'll do it and we'll figure something out. So if that's really important to your concept, then go for it. We'll do it.
I think the biggest piece of this concept is the nature has its own spirituality. Yeah, I totally fumbled words there.
Okay.
That the mountain he lives on has a hierarchy, as in who controls this mountain, and that is the Mountain King, and he's the warden. His whole thing's trying to naturally bring balance to the mountain. Make sure there's not too many of this type of animal. Blah blah blah. He's modern terms pretty much a warden.
Cool. Well, I think that fits with my concept of the nature god. But another thing that I want to do with my deities to also help there not be so many is that they can have different aspects. So it could be that where you're from, you see Primordia as more like this mountain god, where some place where there's a lot of farmers, they would see Primordia as more like an agricultural deity, but it's the same deity.
Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
And I was even kicking around the idea of not having my deities have fixed genders. So Primordia might appear as a man to you and might appear as a woman to someone else. Because if they can appear as different races, they could appear as different genders too. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of my idea is when you see a god, you see what you expect to see. Each person sees what they expect to see. So
okay, that's solid. So
they could even have different names, but that would get complicated. And you're playing a Goliath, Kyle? I'm sorry, what, Steve?
I said just no need to overdo it yet with,
Yeah.
multiple names. And,
Right. I don't want to Ed Greenwood this thing, I'm just playing. I think Ed's awesome. I don't think the problems with the realms have anything to do with Ed Greenwood. I think it has to do with this company called Wizards of the Coast.
Oh shit! We'll edit that part out. We love Wizards of the Coast, and we'll accept any free donations of books that they may care to offer.
Yeah, right. Totally.
And previews.
That's right.
Of said books that may or may not be in the public eye, to be tested by a group of professional role players.
Yeah, that's right. Let us know. As long as it's not a campaign.
Yeah, find a different abled professional group if you're gonna slug a 20 level campaign at us.
Yeah. All right. So actually, I guess we'll leave Kyle be for now because he's probably got some stuff to do.
Get to work, Kyle.
Yeah, get to work, Kyle. You slacker.
Yeah, Kyle.
All right. Let's start with Dwayne because
right.
I already talked to Nathan. We'll do Nathan later. That sounded gross. Anyway, we will gang rape Nathan later.
No. I'm out.
I'll be second.
That was so un-PC of me.
No, I'm not.
I mean, if you look at the Tyranny of Dragons thing of what we talked about, so far we're starting kind of lukewarm.
Yeah.
Not too bad, yeah.
YouTube hasn't taken any of my videos down yet, so Dwayne, what did you think about my idea with having you make that wild magic roll with every spell instead of just arbitrarily whenever I feel like it?
So you were saying at any time, well, I guess I wasn't quite sure. Is it any time I roll a d20, if I roll a 1, I then make the additional d20 roll for wild magic? And if I roll a 1 again, we get wild magic?
No, okay. So the way it works in the book is I just, whenever I feel like it, when you cast a spell, have you roll. And if you roll a 1, then the wild magic happens. But I was, you said something about having something more, like fixed. And it's only a 1 in 20 chance. So I thought you could just roll it every time you cast a spell, not counting cantrips, but.
Here's what can happen here. The wild magic is awesome. And I hope it comes up.
Okay.
But if it happens like 4 times in a combat, it ceases to be interesting and it can just be kind of a pain in the ass. Okay. I think that's why in the book they say, it's kind of up to the DM. So you can kind of gauge it. You can kind of be like, okay now, but we've already had it happen 3 times this week, so no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if we tie it to a die roll, then there's a chance it could get overused or annoying or something. But I'm willing to, if you want to do it that often, it's wacky. I mean, it is a wacky element to the game. Really weird, good and bad things can happen. I would also note that if you have any of your old D&D books, anything from listing under the Wand of Wonder would make it great. So if you ever want to use alternate lists of wild magic stuff.
Oh, I wish I did. I used to have the magic encyclopedia. It was like multiple volumes of just spells and magic items and stuff. And they had like an expanded Wand of Wonder that, it was awesome, but I don't have it anymore.
Okay.
I wish I did.
Otherwise, the Wand of Wonder in the DM guide also has some pretty crazy stuff that goes down. So if at any point, people read because I have not read, I make a point to not read those lists because I want it to be surprising to me. So
okay, yeah.
But I don't know. What do the rest of you think? Do you think that is going to come up too often? I certainly don't. I want to make the game more interesting, not more tedious.
Well, the fact that it's really in the area of GM Fiat means that we can be flexible about it. That you can try a system that seems to make sense at the outset, and then if it doesn't really work, you can tweak it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's
my kind of thought on it would be, so if you roll every single time that you make your magic thing, instead of rolling again to see if you get a 1 for it to go off, roll to save versus your casting. Like roll to save against, like trying to save versus an effect, that effect being the wild magic going off, kind of like you're trying to prevent yourself from, blowing up. And so it gives it more often than a 1 in 20, 1 in 20, but not literally a lot.
Well, I think Dwayne's saying he thinks that'll be too often, the 1 in 20.
I feel like 1 in a 5% chance is going to come up quite a bit.
Yeah, a 5% chance, and then you have to save versus it before it then happens.
Yeah, but that's getting complicated. It's going to slow stuff down.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's a save or versus my spell attack, well, I guess it depends which stat you use, but if it's the same stat, then I'd be adding 3 to one and adding 3 to the other. So at that point, it kind of just becomes roll a die if I get an 8 or higher. Wouldn't it?
My biggest concern with it just being arbitrarily up to me is that I'm going to forget to do it, and it's not going to happen.
That's what I thought. So I thought of something like if I picked numbers, like if I picked a couple of numbers on the D20, and if I roll those numbers, anytime I roll a D20, I then roll that second one. But that was just me having an idea too. So, but I like the idea that Steve brought up that we could change it. You could say your magic is really unstable this week. Now it's, Okay. Well, let's try just rolling it every time.
Okay.
And then we'll see. And you can let me know if you feel like it's happening too often. And if it is, then we'll try something else.
Yeah, and it's the other players too. I mean, we can weigh in if we're kind of man.
Yeah, this is getting annoying.
Yeah, and there may be weeks that it just happens a lot, and there might be weeks it doesn't happen at all. So that's kind of why I did it, because I think it's cool like that. So okay, we'll do it that way then. Every spell I cast the D20, and if I roll a 1,
and if it's too much, maybe every time you cast a spell, you can flip a coin. And if it comes up heads, then you roll the D20. And
but we could change it. You can change if you want to come up with a different way.
Right.
Say every time I cast a spell, I roll the D20, and if it's 7 or 13 or other magical numbers, then I roll the D20 again. And we could do that too. Whatever you come up with. There's no reason that it can't change from week to week too.
So how do you feel about me just having it happen sometimes? Almost like a GM intrusion kind of thing. Like, you're going to get a wild magic surge just because I think it would be fun.
I'm great with it.
Cool.
I'm whenever you feel the need,
I mean, ideally, it would be, I think, is forget the dice. Lex just does it kind of when he feels like it.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's written in the book. So.
But I know me, and I'm afraid I'll either be doing it all the time or I'll forget about it and never.
Right. When you're DMing, you got a lot of other stuff in your mind. That's something that's easy to overlook. And conversely, I don't want to petition for it, because then if it comes up and it's bad, everybody's going to blame me. But if it's the dice, just the dice, man.
Yeah. What was the other thing I was going to ask you about that?
You reminded me to talk about the tides of.
Oh yeah.
Tides of chaos. So at any time I can gain advantage on a D20 roll, and then it's once per day. And then once I've done it, then the DM can have me roll on the wild magic table, and then I get that back, if that makes sense. So I can have advantage at any time, and then when Lex says roll wild magic, I get that effect back.
Yeah. So that's something I would definitely, if you're in a position where you'd benefit from that, I'm fine with you saying, hey, can I get a wild magic surge, or can I roll for one? Well, I guess now you're going to be rolling anyway, but.
Yeah, right. I'd be fine if anyone did that too. It doesn't have to be me. I mean, that's the nature of wild magic, that anybody can just say wild magic, and then boom, off it goes.
All right. For people watching at home, every time Dwayne has a wild magic surge, you have to drink. There we go.
Nice.
Also, who in the world's token is this adorable little devil baby?
That is me. I am playing a 10-year-old tiefling boy.
Oh, excellent.
His name is Iorek, and his virtue name is Resonance.
Oh. Excellent.
That's awesome.
And he's going to be a little creep who stares at people, and his hobbies include holding in his own poop.
Fantastic.
Wow, Dwayne. Wow.
All right. Now, Dwayne, I know that there were some.
All day. I just cracked myself up.
There were some things you wanted to kind of keep to yourself.
Yes.
So if I ask you one of those things, just let me know. You don't have to answer. But I mean, do you want to tell us what spells you picked, or no?
Yes, I randomly determined my spells, keeping with the wild magic thing, and I think I did okay.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I got 4 cantrips: Prestidigitation, Gust, Message, and Firebolt.
Okay.
Good selection, I think. And my level 1 spells, I ended up with Witch Bolt, Catapult, and Mage Armor. So I think I'm in pretty good shape. I should have something to do in every environment.
Is that enough spells?
Yeah, you don't get that many as a sorcerer.
Oh, sorcerer, you're right. I'm thinking wizard. Okay.
Yeah, it's 4 cantrips and 3 spells known. But I do get 3 first level slots, and then I'll be able to trade sorcery points for a 4th slot.
Nice.
So that'll be that. I also picked the urchin background.
Cool.
And I was going to say that my character is an urchin because we're beginning in a large city, right?
Yeah.
No, I was going to say my character is from this city.
Okay.
So with the urchin background, I also gained proficiency in thieves' tools, and I made dexterity my 2nd highest stat. So, or I guess not quite, but it's actually I got a 13 in dex. But I'm going to take resilience feat, so I'll be getting a +1 to dex and then advantage on dex saving throws. I'll be doing that right away. So I'll be kind of the lockpick, maybe. Nice. I do have proficiency with them. And I may multi-class to rogue later on, but I'm going to just see how the character plays before I make that decision.
Cool. Awesome.
I don't know how your guys would know me. I guess maybe we're not really at that stage here yet.
Yeah, we're going to do the kind of like, we've already been together once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So you guys are starting at 2nd level. So once we have everybody's characters, we'll kind of as a group think about like basically you guys have done a job together already. It was like your 1st level adventure. And so that way everybody kind of knows each other and you've worked together at least once. And I don't know, it's probably easier to do that in person. I'm getting this kind of from the thing you do in Fate.
Yeah, bonds or whatever.
In character creation where you I forget what it's called. But that's kind of what you do. You come up with something that your character did in the past, and then someone else figures out how they were involved in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see. What else did you have?
Are you from this city then?
Yes. Yes, I am from this city.
Oh, and I'm so proud of myself. I came up with a name for the city. It is Eladrin is the name of the city. I put it in the chat.
And fill in some blanks here.
It's actually, it was originally an elven city, and it's on the coast of like the ocean, and it's at the mouth of a kind of like my world's version of the Mississippi River. It's a big river that back in the days when people traded more on the rivers was like a major trade route going north to south for all the lands in this region. So there's like an inner city area that was built by the elves like thousands of years ago. And then around that is a newer area that was built by humans like hundreds of years ago. And each of those areas are surrounded by a wall. And then there's like all the farmland around that. And then that area is surrounded by another wall. And then there's a mythal around the whole thing. So as far as the mythal, I'll just say that for now it prevents teleportation magic. So cool. You can't, other than using one of the portals, you can't like teleport into the city.
So I have as an urchin, as an Eladrin urchin, I have the feature city streets. So out of combat, I and my companions can move twice as fast through the city streets.
Nice.
I know some, and I probably kind of know a couple people because I was an urchin. I guess there is one thing I could maybe tell you, and you guys can decide if your story connects to this. Okay. But I know it's kind of a cliche that I'm an orphan, but I am an orphan. And I was raised by a drug-addicted halfling prostitute named Lita. So I don't know if there's a connection there with you guys. I'm definitely not going to draw the lines on that relationship.
Wait, she's a halfling named Lita?
Yes.
So she's a low Lita?
She's a low Lita. That's right. But she raised me. How dare you say that?
I visited her a couple of times, but I rapped it every time. You're not my son.
So I never got any feedback on this. Maybe people didn't read it with all the forum posts I've been making. But I decided to do it because I like the idea, even if no one else does. So there's going to be a fucking pint here in the city.
Oh, yeah.
And I really like the idea that maybe Steve's character or any other characters, like after he retired and was like this old man, like somehow ended up in this world and like opened this bar.
I don't see Uthgrim doing it. I think I thought I posted it. Like, I had this kind of idea of like what Uthgrim would do after Tyranny of Dragons, like part of his backstory and stuff. So it doesn't work for him, but I like the idea in general.
Okay.
Or maybe it could be like the fucking pint, and it's run by a guy known as Udgrim, who's kind of a big guy, whatever, and he's got his little manservant Mass Pig, and there's some similarities, but
this isn't a complete other universe, right? Like, which character would we expect to accidentally end up in another universe?
Nivara.
I don't know. I would have said our wizardly friend.
I think it could happen to anybody. I think the question is which character would run a bar in their retirement years, if any of them.
Needing money, all of us.
No, dude, Tybal eventually turns into a deer and just runs off into the forest.
All right. Well, since no one is keen on their character being the one, what I'll do is I'll just say
throw Uriel at it.
Okay.
And he gets disowned by his father.
It's all he knows because he's separated from his noble background. Like he can't rely on his family anymore. He's just like, what do I know? Drinking.
Partying, man. He's partying.
So Kyle, do you want Uriel to still be alive, or was this a long time ago and he's gone on to green pastures?
This is a long time. He's super dead.
Okay,
but remember,
cool.
He's a bad bartender because remember, once he got his hand chopped off, he would drop every single drink he had. Remember?
What he would do is like he would go to like slide one down the bar, and in this universe you still don't have your hand, but instead you miss it and just hit your stump against like the bar post. Like, you know how some of them have like the old timey posts there, so you just hit it and you curse. That's great.
I like the idea that in this universe Uriel didn't have get his hand back.
Yeah, he does not have his hand.
Or he lost it again somehow.
Oh yeah. That's amazing.
He taunted some other powerful creature and took his hand off again. This time it was a demon, not a dragon, but same result. And Dwayne, you didn't want to go into your parentage like publicly, right? That's a secret people will have to learn about.
Lolita is my mother.
Are you obviously a tiefling? I guess tieflings are pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was one kind of cool thing they added in the Sword Coast guide, was the tiefling variants were kind of neat. They give you can choose some kind of different appearance. Yeah. I rolled for 3 of the following features. I'm going to pick small horns. I like 6 fingers on each hand. I like the idea of that. And also,
it's good to have an extra.
Yeah, and a forked tail. So he has a forked tail, small horns, 6 fingers on each hand. And now I'm still considering there's a really kind of a cool swap out. You can swap out Infernal Legacy for Devil's Tongue, which is actually pretty cool because it gives you the Vicious Mockery cantrip, which I've seen in other games as being quite awesome. And then you get you get that instead of Thaumaturgy. And then at 3, you get Charm Person instead of Hellish Rebuke. And at 5th level, you get Enthrall instead of Darkness. So they're all more like social type. And I'm still... Well, what do you guys think? Which one do you think is better? The standard one or the Devil's Tongue?
I don't know.
Otherwise, I mean, if you're being a rascal, I'm all aboard the Devil's Tongue.
Yeah. Just Eddie Haskell type.
Yeah, I like that.
Devil's Tongue. I'm going to go with Devil's Tongue then. You guys like it? It's cool. It's in.
And Dwayne, if you have any thoughts about who your fiend parent is, like a specific demon or devil or something, you can let me know.
Okay. Otherwise, you can come up with it as two as well, Lex. If you want to build that in, you're free to. If you want me to come up with it, I will. But you're free to come up with that also.
Okay.
You don't get to choose your parents, so.
This is true.
All right. I got small horns. 6-fingered hands. Just adding this all to the character sheet.
Where are your small horns?
On his head.
They're just like the picture. They come straight out the top. They just look just like that picture.
Excellent. Because I mean, some have like them forward, and some have them like back, and some have them like.
Yeah.
Some have them like coming from their chin. Those are more like tusks.
And a forked tail.
I think we're done with Dwayne for now. Cool. I feel like there's something I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I pulled up your thing here. Background, where I'm from, Tiefling.
Arcane focus or material components?
Oh, that will be revealed as the campaign goes forward. I had a very Shadow of the Demon Lordy kind of idea for that. So that'll be revealed later. So
we might have to put a content warning up before we reveal that.
Yeah. Genitals inbound, everybody.
Definitely like the genitals of some sort of demon.
If this is the first of our streams you've watched, this is very comfortably rated R. So
sure.
Yeah.
Although my character's probably not going to pull out any hearts in this game, though I guess I can't make any promises.
You want to go next, Steve? You're next in line.
I'm playing Raith. He's an Eladrin. He's going to go down the road of the Bladesinger from the new Sword Coast Adventures Guide, which I think would be cool. I'm going to start out, though. I'm actually going to start out with a level of Fighter and a level of Wizard, just so that I'm not too squishy to start. But I think unless things change, unless I kind of look at the party composition and think we really need somebody tougher, I think I'm just going to go straight Wizard from there on out.
Cool.
And because I think with the blade singing and everything else, and different spells that I'm going to choose, it'll be okay. So let me just see your questions for me. I haven't picked my spells yet. I'm going to do that now. I'm just going through a few. I'm probably going to take one of the new cantrips. I haven't decided which one, but I like them for this type of character. They're going to be a good way to kind of supplement the upfront attacking. I'll take any insights people might have that have looked more closely at them in terms of what's best. Like the Green Flame Blade one looks pretty good. Yeah, that's the one I'm leaning towards. Other than that, I'm probably going to take... I'm not sure if I'm going to take a ranged one like Firebolt, because I can use a bow, and I'm going to start with a bow. For my other spells, my first level spells, I'll probably pick up a couple of rituals just because I think that's cool, and they can add a bit of utility. But it's going to be a lot of defensive stuff. So I'll definitely pick up Shield, because I think that'll be a cool thing to do. And I'm not sure if I'm going to pick up Mage Armor because I get Leather Armor anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm going to weigh that out. But I think probably not. And then I'll probably pick up a few more sort of attack cantrips because he'll be mostly a fighting-oriented guy with a little bit of support stuff, utility stuff from the rituals, and I think maybe some mobility stuff. Like I like the idea that he's kind of quick and mobile. The Eladrin gets a use of Misty Step, which is cool. Yeah. And I think when I get to higher levels, I'll pick up some stuff like that, like Dimension Door, just to play into the idea that this is a guy that kind of zips around the battlefield and oh, you didn't expect to see me here, kind of guy.
Yeah, cool.
Let me ask about the, because I haven't played a wizard in this before, the question that you had asked me about arcane focus for material components. Functionally, what's the big difference there?
There's really not a difference mechanically. It's just with the focus, you have one object, like a crystal ball or something that you use for everything, where the components, you have all these different components for different things. I think it's really more just a flavor thing than... Cool. I guess maybe it might be easier to steal your focus from you than all your components, but I don't know if that's even true because you probably keep all your components in a little thing together anyway. So
I'm thinking, I've never really loved the idea of somebody in the middle of combat pulling out some bat guano.
I know, right?
And doing this little thing. It's you got 6 orcs in your face, and you're sorting through this pouch to be oh yeah, no, that's the back guano. That's not the lizard shit. And that's what you're using. I don't know. So I think I can find a. Are you open to the? It sounds from what Dwayne's doing that you're open to this, but are you open to the idea of creative foci?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of on that topic, and I touched on it when Tyvel was first introduced, and it was never really again. He uses components that they're the flowers that grow out the top of the staff, and then they wilt when he casts the spells. It's not really anything we've ever had to touch on, but and he grows them with Druidcraft, the cantrip. So that's kind of how that went.
Now, is there a mechanical restriction? Do you need to use one hand? Do you have to have a hand free? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
but it can be the same hand that you use to cast a spell. So like Steve can have a sword in one hand and do somatic gestures and use his focus or his components with the other hand.
Okay, but he couldn't do a sword and a shield and do
unless you have a specific feat.
Right.
Unless I have that Warcaster feat, which I'm not going to take. I've been thinking about that. So I like the idea that he's going to use one hand to fight and his other hand for magic.
Yeah, that's traditionally how the Bladesingers worked.
I just kind of like the visual of that. I actually thought about, and I think you can make it work if you get Warcaster going dual weapon, because I thought that would be kind of interesting visually, but it's too much sticking around, so I'm not going to do it.
The one thing I was disappointed with the Bladesingers, they didn't put any of the flavor stuff in. So the Bladesinging fighting style is like you're dancing, basically, and it's these kind of what seem to be these slow flowing movements, but it's a thing of, you know, like very efficient and moving exactly the way you need to do at the time you do.
And Steve, welcome to how we're hooked together, by the way.
And the reason it's called blade singing is when you swing your sword through the air, it makes like a whistling sound.
So yeah, because that's the other. So that's interesting, Lex, and I kind of really like that idea. There's this. I don't know if you guys, anybody reads Patrick Rothfuss, his books, Name of the Wind and Wise Man's Fear. In Wise Man's Fear, there's this whole part like he goes up with this group of people who are all like their whole culture is centered around fighting, and like the leader is this old woman, and she's like this amazing fighter, and it's not because she does all sorts of crazy shit, but she just moves so perfectly in response to, it's like a total economy of movement.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that idea for this guy, that it's not that he's necessarily like, oh, like swinging around doing crazy shit. It's more like he moves really quickly and precisely, and that's kind of the one thing though. So this is out of keeping with what's in the rules. I'm gonna pick him up a rapier, but I'm wondering, is it possible to
Elven court blade?
Yeah, like kind of reskin the rapier as the same, mechanically the exact same, except as a slashing weapon.
Well, that'd be a longsword, basically, right? Which is traditionally what blade singing's used with.
Yeah,
well, it's used with the Elven court blade, which is a finesse longsword.
No, blade singing is used with the longsword.
Oh,
there was no such thing as an Elven court blade. That's like a 3rd edition thing, or 4th maybe.
I mean, was it in an edition of D&D? Then
yeah, 2nd edition.
Oh, well then I would say it was a thing.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, the like if I had to go, the problem is mechanically going longsword is just doesn't make a lot of sense, because one, elves aren't strong, and it's a strength only weapon. It's not a finesse weapon, which is why I was going to go rapier. But if there's a way to reskin that as something that's a slashing weapon, I do it. Otherwise, I'll just go with the standard rapier. You don't have to decide that now, but I figured I'd bring it up.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think. Trying to think if there's much else there. Background. So he's an Eladrin. He comes from the Feywild, which is not Primordia. So he's an exile. He's an exile from his people in the Feywild, and I haven't really explored, a huge elaborate backstory, but I like that idea that he's an exile and he's kind of a bit of a loner in some ways. And the Feywild, like I know that it's kind of almost like a weird Feyish copy of the material realm. So I think that it could be cool if it was also linked to Primordia, and it would be like almost like a natural place for him to flee to, go to, whatever.
Okay.
And in terms of the, the background, he's going to take Outlander because he's kind of been out on his own for a while. And I really liked what you said, that this is actually Elandria is a former elven city, and it kind of gives like an interesting reason for him to come to this place in particular. Like it reminds him of home. There's this echo of like the elven architecture, and while it may be a new city and it may not be elven, it still has that kind of weird like comfortable feeling to him. Yeah,
cool. So you were from the Feywild originally? Awesome.
Yeah,
I'll have some fun with that.
Yeah, I'll try to work out like and maybe you and I can talk more about why he's in exile and how that all kind of works. But I just like that idea that, he's a bit of a loner. And his kind of, what I was thinking about for his background a little bit is this idea that he's, like I did for Tyranny of Dragons, I'm going to come up with my own personality, ideals, bonds, flaws, stuff.
Okay.
And his whole thing has changed. Like, the only constant is change. And he accepts that, but he also tries to cling a little bit to some historical things. And that's part of his motivation for getting involved in some of the adventuring stuff, is to try to preserve history in some ways and preserve memories in ways, even though he accepts that change is a constant. And that's kind of how things go.
Cool. So regarding, I'm thinking about the whole weapon thing. So basically you want a finesse weapon is like the deal, right?
Yeah.
Which makes sense. So basically the only difference is whether you're doing piercing or slashing damage.
Yeah.
So why don't we say that there's like an elven longsword that is a finesse weapon, and we can basically give it the 1d8 slashing, and since it's finesse, take away the versatile property, which you wouldn't use anyway. He's
never going to two-hand it. Like, it's just not going to happen.
So it'll just be 1d8 slashing finesse with no, if you did swing it two-handed, it'd still be 1d8.
Yeah. Well, actually, the interesting thing about blade singing is that if you ever wield a weapon with two hands like that, you fall out of your blade singing. Like, that's the end of it. You
can, however, use two weapons.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought about doing like the Tristo Doran to like scimitars, like kind of a spinning dancing kind of thing. But I just think mechanically it would be too hard to.
Yeah, I don't have a problem doing with that because if I don't, you're just going to take a rapier. And it's just really a flavor thing, because I can't think of any instance where it matters whether you're doing slashing or piercing, really, that it's that big of a deal.
Like, I can only think of two, and neither of them I think are relevant, because one of them's a ranger only spell, and the other one is very specific types of undead.
Right, like skeletons or something. Yeah. But yeah, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, if you reconsider it or something comes up, just let me know. But I'll just assume that's
well.
That's cool.
They had in previous editions, they had like elven special swords. Like they had some. I think it was called like a thin blade or something.
Yeah, in 3.5 and Races of the Wild, they had the court blade and the thin blade.
And those were like finesse long swords and great swords, right, Nathan? Yep. Basically.
Yeah, the court blade was a finesse, actually a great sword, as you just said. The thin blade was an elven rapier.
Okay. So yeah,
I'm going to pop into chat just for people to see what my initial thoughts are on my personality traits and stuff. And
okay,
because I wrote them up earlier. Do
you want mine as well?
They're not
kind of blew right by those.
If you want.
Okay. I bluntly say what other people are hinting at or hiding. Kids say the darndest things, and I'm going to take advantage of that. I hide scraps of food and trinkets away in my pockets. So he's a stinky little brat. Changes the nature of things. I owe my survival to another urchin who taught me to live on the streets. That's the hopelessly drug-addicted prostitute halfling Lita. And I'd rather kill someone in their sleep than fight fair.
Nice.
And I have proficiency with a disguise kit and thieves' tools.
Dwayne, you don't have like an 18 strength or anything, do you?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I didn't think you would. Strength, but that was my low one. I did the standard array, by the way. I had 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8.
Okay. I was just going to say because you're 10 or 11 or whatever.
I know, yeah. No, but I did give him a 14 constitution. I'm thinking, he's a tiefling, right? So
yeah. Kids are pretty hardy. They make everybody else sick, but they usually do all right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, the Bladesinger thing, I'm glad someone's playing it because I'm very dubious about it, because when I first saw it in second edition, it was a fighter mage kind of thing, and I would have really thought they'd make it a fighter archetype, which I understand why they didn't, because it'd be like an Eldritch Knight. But I just don't know if it's going to work as a wizard, because you've got a D6 for a hit die. You've got light armor, and you do get an armor class bonus, but it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to be throwing up a lot of my spells are going to be spent on my own defensive stuff, so I'll probably be throwing up blur when I can and mirror image and stuff like that, because I think that's the only way to stay ahead of the fact that you've got a D6. And taking a level of fighter at the beginning to give myself that extra little bump, hopefully will help. And
I think if you focus on spells to increase, like buff you combat wise, like increase your armor class, like Stone Skin, and what was that spell? Was it Tensor's or Mordenkainen's transformation that just made you like a melee badass for a while? I don't know if that's in 5th edition now.
I remember that in Baldur's Gate. That thing was great.
Yeah. So, and I think that's kind of the idea and the Bladesinger was from, I think it was the Elves of Evermeet book from 2nd edition. And they were really cool because they were like basically like a one-man strike team. And it said, it was like, if you have a job that an army isn't enough, you send a Bladesinger. Or maybe 2.
Yeah.
So they were supposed to be like supreme badasses, master of their chosen weapon, which I guess from that point, it works with Wizard because you're, flavor wise, you're really focused on this one weapon, unlike a fighter that focuses on every weapon. So I guess that makes sense. And we don't have attack bonuses anymore. So
yeah, that's right.
You don't have to worry about that. Well, we do, just everybody's is the same.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So are we done with Steve?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say the Eladrin, I'm not sure how you say that. They're just I don't know what they. I mean, that's like a 4th edition thing, right? I don't know anything about them, but I don't know if they are an elf subrace, but that's how I'm gonna treat them.
Yeah, they're basically elves, I think.
Yeah, I will probably come up with a different name for them, like some type of elf someday. Yeah.
I think maybe canonically elves and Eladrin are related, but they don't like each other for reasons, because Eladrin are supposed to be really uppity, I think.
Yeah. So I'm kind of going with the whole, like, they're more, because the idea is all the elves came from the Feywild way back when, and the Eladrin are more still connected to that than the other elves are, which...
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Maybe Eladrin consider elves as like expatriates, kind of like in a bad light.
Yeah.
So, do you want us to roll for trinkets?
Oh yeah, sure. I always forget about those.
Yeah, I just realized it because I was going to look up Dungeoneer's Pack, and I accidentally hit that page.
All right, so Nathan.
Yeah.
Gotta go back to the top. So you are playing a psionicist, which I refuse to call a mystic.
Yeah. It's a bad name.
You are Order of the Immortal. So I think watching you and Steve's character back-to-back fighting is going to be pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And it does tie in because I guess explaining forward is that the background order, confusing order mechanically and order background is going to happen, is the Order of the Butterfly. And the Order of the Butterfly is, so I've got some notes here, just kind of the quick and dirty. It has a recruiting office in Elandria that's disguised as a dance school known as the Cora Locus, which some may recognize as dance room in Latin. Their conditioning as psionicist is based on dancing and endurance and dance marathons and stuff like that. They focus on speed and defense. Speed as the butterfly and defense as the cocoon. The school limits itself purely to humans and elves. The school and a lot of its students are naturally, I guess, prejudiced against ugly things and the rash. So ugly things being the ugly races, war and stuff like that, that leave scars. Which is kind of bizarre because they find combat to be beautiful, but the aftermath to be ugly, which as it goes. They are known to be to be unreliable, many times quoting that this fight is not ours, and even though they are capable for helping, just leaving, even if it befits them to keep fighting. It is of note that the Grand Master is an Eladrin.
Oh.
Of course, the recruiting office is in Eladrin, which is also a dance school, but their regular kind of school where they teach the actual psionicist stuff is far off in a valley of some great, a great gentle valley, very verdant and whatnot. And it is well known that to get there requires a lot of speed and endurance, because if you do not do this pilgrimage in a very short amount of time with no resources on you at all, then you fail either by dying or getting there late.
They do the thing where you have to run through the desert with a marble in your mouth.
Yeah.
or a sip of water and you have to spit it out when you get there.
But Samson is, he calls himself Samson the Butterfly Prince. Originally it was Butterfly Knight, but I didn't like that as much. He is known to be, blah, 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 da, da, da. He's known to be kind and gentle in the ways of the word and between people, but fierce and daunting in battle. He travels to bring peace to this world through force if necessary. He believes that this world is a place of both peace and unrest. It is up to us, all of us, to bring peace of the meadows upon all the hearts and minds of the varied races. He's not the best at discerning between honesty and venom of the word. Sarcasm is lost on him, and he is easily fooled by quick talkers and he's easily fooled by quick talkers, snake oil salesmen, that kind of thing. He is by all standards, this is the kind of thing where, well, his charisma's not the best. I mean, I don't actually have any negative stats. But he's very tall. He has extremely long blonde hair to his rear end that he leaves unfastened most of the time, and he focuses a lot on his appearance, but he never condescends people for not focusing on beauty like he does.
Now, the dancing school, you said that was like a ballet kind of thing, not like court dancing, right? Yeah. Or do they do that too?
It's like a free kind of form, right. Whatever. It's not,
Like not like nobles dancing at a ball kind of thing. Gotcha.
Because they use it as to because you need to have a certain energy, and that's how they try to find other psionicists, cool. Is people of repute try to find a way to get rid of all this energy Order of the Immortal psionicists have. And in Eladrin, the dancing is popular, I guess. I'm calling it popular, recreational dancing. And so when the immortal people when the psionicists with a penchant for Order of the Immortal stuff come, and then they realize, hey, you're this guy and whatever. Welcome to the club.
I just realized what I did.
Oh?
How close the name of my city, Eladrin, is to the word Eladrin. I didn't even think of that when I came up with it. But so I guess in Elvish, maybe it translates to the city of the Eladrin. So I might have to do something with that. Maybe it has like a connection to the Feywild or something. That'd be kind of cool.
Now, I'd like to point out that my auntie Lita told me that the best dance is a pants-off dance-off. Do you do that one?
Hey, man. And each of them focus on different types of dance. I haven't decided on the kind of like dancing that Samson focuses on. Also, yes, I got the name and the hair from the thing.
Isn't Lita's signature move called the finish?
Yes, it is.
Finisher.
She calls it a happy ending. I like stories with happy ending.
So Nathan, what you're saying though is the pants off dance off is still in it in terms of his. It's a possible option for his specialty.
So, it should be interesting. It'll be interesting playing a playtest thing. Yeah. If it doesn't work out, I have a backup and no hard feelings related to it, but it should be cool. And for my dude, the current disciplines, though eventually I'll get all three that are available, are Celerity, which focuses on speed, the butterfly, and Iron Durability, which focuses on fence, the cocoon.
Celerity again.
Yeah, we're going to have some lots of movement going on.
Yeah, people really like that word in D&D.
I guess.
And role-playing games. I mean, I cast Celerity in Shadow of the Demon Lord.
Yeah, that's where I heard it. I thought, every once in a while you hear Alacrity, but not Celerity, which I think means kind of the same thing.
See, Celerity always makes me think of vampire.
Yeah. Is your guy a human, Nathan?
Yes, he is a human.
So we have a human.
There's a human here. Cool.
So we have a human, a tiefling, an Eladrin,
and a Goliath.
Yeah. And then Chrissy is playing an Aasimar. It's gonna be awesome.
She's playing an ass.
Half angel.
Yeah,
sort of the counterpoint to Dwayne. Dwayne, have you guys decided if you're going to be related? Yes,
that will be coming up as the game progresses.
Okay, cool.
But my character is not aware of it. So.
So
I honestly don't know what Chrissy's going to do with it.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see where she goes with it.
Yeah. So for the listeners or the viewers, we have a Tiefling, half fiend, and an Eladrin, half celestial, and they have the same human parent. So I want to know, is it your mother, Dwayne?
We might not be brother sister anymore. It might be like auntie nephew. So
I really like the idea of this poor woman that somehow got herself knocked up by both a demon and an angel.
Yeah.
Boy, that was a wild party.
That's right.
And they came out as twins. No, because you're young and she might be older.
I don't think we're brother sister anymore. I think she wanted something. She thought that was whatever. I don't know. Like I said, my character doesn't know, so I kind of don't want to know. So it's kind of
that's up to Chrissy.
Whatever you and Chrissy decide is cool. That's cool.
Well, it's up to her. I just think it's a great idea. However you do it.
Yeah, I like the connection. So often players are just always orphans. With no families.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Kyle, how you doing over there, man? Are you 20th level yet?
I'm walking stuff down. So
do you have any questions, Kyle?
Okay. No, I'm just finishing up the background. I have all the stat stuff laid out.
What domain are you going to be? Oh, I guess you need to know what domains.
Nature Cleric?
Yeah, nature.
Yeah. You're going nature?
Walking. Yeah, for sure, nature cleric. Without a doubt.
Okay. Cool. Well, then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Nature will definitely be one of the domains. That much I'm sure of.
If you're curious, he was born at 33,000 feet.
Okay.
So we have the altitude locked down.
Nice.
And I guess I'll tell you guys.
Do you chew the coca?
Once I have it finished. Do I have what?
Cocaine leaves. People in the Andes chew on them for high altitude sickness. Like
I don't need that because I'm just damn awesome.
You're just so awesome. You don't need it. You eat rocks for breakfast.
Embolisms.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll give you guys a detailed version once I have it all
locked down.
All right, so we've got characters. Yeah, we're rocking and rolling.
Cool crop too. I like this crop of characters. Pretty neat.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to hear about the characters firsthand too. To have a bit of a sense of what's going to happen because I haven't firmly nailed down everything, and now I can kind of work some stuff in, like some stuff with Nathan's guy. Maybe I'm not sure what I might be able to do there, but I can definitely see some synergy.
So yeah, I like that though. I like it to kind of develop and change as the game progresses.
Yeah, totally. So let me tell you guys a little bit about the guild, which is still called the guild because I can't think of a good name for it. So my idea is that adventuring is an actual thing that people do that's recognized, and there's actually an organization or a guild of adventurers, and adventurers work in teams or parties or groups. And just like, we've always done forever in D&D, they name themselves, so each party has a name that it's known by. And some of the more, successful ones that have been doing it for a while actually get, some fame and notoriety, and they're kind of like the rock stars of the world, and people think they're awesome. And, eventually when they've amassed all the wealth and power that they want and they're tired of adventuring, a lot of times they settle down in a city and help guard the portals to the other cities and just live the good life. But the idea is once you join this guild, they will be a source of things to do. So I'm ripping a lot of things off of The Witcher because I really like a lot of the stuff in that world. So they'll have basically like contracts. Or I think a better term would be bounties. In Witcher, they're called contracts, but I think bounties works better. But the idea is like, someone sees a monster out in the woods or something, and, they tell the powers that be, and some authorities like, oh, we don't want that monster out there, so I'll pay 300 gold to whoever will get rid of it, kind of thing. And so you can do that without being part of the guild, but you're kind of seen as like amateurs if you don't have kind of like their seal of approval, and people will tend not to pay you nearly as well, and kind of like not trust that you'll actually do the job. And you also tend to get more like bullshit jobs because the guild kind of vets stuff. So if someone says, oh, this house is haunted, like they'll make sure that it's actually haunted and not just some kid playing tricks before they send someone to go deal with it, So at this point, what I'm thinking is you guys are not members of the guild yet. And basically this first adventure will be kind of your opportunity to do something noteworthy so that you can say to the guild, hey, we did this thing and we deserve to be part of you. And then once you're part of the guild, I'm thinking about even having like, they'll have like some limited supplies of like magical items that you can actually like purchase from them. So like if we didn't have a healer, like you might be able to get like some kind of like magical rod of healing or something like the item like Steve was talking about from them. Supplies will be limited, but it's kind of like, have you guys ever played Pathfinder? Kind of like the Pathfinder Society. Yeah. So
I was kind of thinking of that.
Yeah, it's basically the Pathfinder Society. Except, so
there's like a hall, there's like a guild hall or something where you can go.
Yeah.
And we're all members already, or this is our initiation adventure?
Yeah, you're not yet members, but the idea is by the time you hit 3rd level, you'll be members at that point. Basically, after you finish this first adventure, they'll bring you in. But because they kind of not only do they want to know that each of you is capable as an individual, but that you also can work as a team and not die.
Right.
Cool. Let's go get them.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Why the fuck we're bringing a 10-year-old with us begs the question, but hey.
But the kind of like the Pathfinder Society, I feel like is a little more focused on like gathering lore and knowledge and exploring and stuff like this, where this is, I mean, that's part of it, but it's more focused on just protecting the cities and getting rid of menaces out in the surrounding area. But these people are going out into the world and exploring these ruins and finding magic items. So I think it makes sense that they would have some kind of supply of things that their agents have found, so kind of a way for you to buy magic items without having like magic item shops.
Yeah.
No, cool. I get it. I like what you're doing here because you're kind of cutting to the chase here at D&D.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah.
I'm rather stoked. Are we ready to play an adventure tonight?
I think so.
My guy's done. I don't know about the rest of y'all. Kyle maybe has more choices to make.
Yeah, I'll be ready.
All I have to do now is just fill in the character sheet. Actually, I finished the background if you guys are wanting to hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Back that ground up.
Let's see. Let me pull it up because I don't have it memorized. All right, so my character, Vimac Sproutslide Toad. That's his full name.
That's awesome.
I love it.
He was born at 33,751 feet. His mother was weak at his birth, and in her last push of strength, she set a carved wooden amulet around his neck before finally passing. Carved in this amulet is the name in Goliath, Vimac. His father is rumored to be a stone. So when Vimac was born, he fell tens of thousands of feet down the mountain to a secluded lake in a valley at 9,578 feet.
Very
Weak
specific.
and young, he was So weak and young, he was nurtured and raised by a gentle toad, a wise toad. That was the self-proclaimed king of the mountain, and had taught Vimac to talk common and his native language, Goliath. and he spent his childhood playing and talking to animals. He was nurtured and raised by Pada, and he studied like nature and philosophy from whatever ancient writings Pada owned. Pada went on to give Vinmac responsibility. His strength and willpower was used to do the bidding of Pada, creating lakes or hunting certain animals, all under the whatever it took to preserve balance on the mountain. Finally, as an adult, Pada, in his old age, decided it was time for Vinmac to return to his own kind. He returned to a Goliath settlement and decided that his work on the mountain was much more important. He returned to Pada to find that in his age has passed, and a new king named Bushu, a Marmot, has taken over. He served Bushu for years, but after rereading all of Pada's scrolls and meditating and reading whatever Pada wrote, he decided it was time for him to experience the world himself, and if he could bring, balance to this mountain, then maybe he can help bring others balance. So, he's not good, he's not evil, he's just completely neutral.
You came up with all this, like, right now?
I know, I'm like, are you fucking kidding?
Shit, guys, I'm shit. I just can't. I'm leaving.
I think Kyle should maybe be the DM.
Yeah, I know. It's like I was wondering for a minute there, like, is this like an allegory? Like, was he actually raised by a toad, or is this like his own like personal story? Like, so was he raised? Like, was this a toad that raised him?
Yeah, he was raised by a toad.
Like the talking ice toads, like right before we quit Tyranny of Dragons.
Yeah.
I was just thinking like a really small, normal toad.
I mean, I'm on board. The fact that it's so good that you made Steve pull out a literary theme means you're on something.
Yeah, man.
Okay, my goal with usually I do characters and they're based off past characters and they're like a certain type of way someone acts. I wanted to base this character off of old mythological anecdotes. And that's what my goal was on this one. So a character that explains balance or whatever, but something gay like that. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah. So anything you want to come up with about your deity?
By the way,
I'll just let you do the whole pantheon. Fuck it.
Shit, man. Yeah. Burn.
You gotta leave the storm one alone or whatever, because I called dibs on that one.
Lord of the Mountain. Very cool.
I'm the Butterfly Prince, so we've got all sorts of royalty going on.
So you are a cleric with the nature domain. Awesome.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting. All right, well, that is going to wrap up part 2 of the first session of our new Primordia campaign. Definitely stay tuned for following sessions and parts. If you would like to reach me, you can email me at gamemastersjourney@gmail.com. You can follow me on Google+, search for Lex Starwalker, and you can follow me on Twitter @Lex Starwalker. Please visit the website starwalkerstudios.com, where you can find this podcast and all my podcasts, as well as show notes with all kinds of useful links and information and all that good stuff. I hope that you have a chance to play your favorite RPG this week. I'll be back soon with another episode of Game Master's Journey. Until then, game on.
This has been a Starwalker Studios production, your source for quality gaming and hobby podcasts.
This episode's music provided by Cloudwalker, Renfield, Transboy, and Ish. Please see the show notes for more details at starwalkerstudios.com/GameMastersJourney.